All right, we are 12 weeks into our season, and we won on Sunday against the Bengals. Now, this was not my most favorite Pats game of this year, I have to say. We might have won. We might have won 9 in a row. We might have the best record in the NFL currently. We might currently be the number one seed in the AFC. We beat the Bengals 26-20 on Sunday, but at what cost? Because you guys, we had so many injuries on Sunday, like so many. It was bad. And the two most significant ones were the left side of our offensive line. And so if you follow the Patriots at all for the past couple of years, you know. Actually, even when Tom Brady was our quarterback, our offensive line there at the end was so bad. And Tom Brady was running for his life. And as an old man, because he was what, 40 something, he was in his 40s when he left the Patriots. He shouldn't have been running for his life. He needed to be protected. He's old in football years. And the last year, Drake May was running for his life. And so we finally had like some continuity of an offensive line for the first time in a couple of years. Like we actually had a line that played together for 11, 12 games of the year without people moving around a whole lot. And then Sunday happened. Will Campbell, our left tackle, went down. Jared Wilson, our left guard, went down. We were just moving people around. And I will say, I cannot believe that Will Campbell did not tear his ACL. I thought for sure that he was out for the year, and he's out for 5 games minimum. I mean, he could be just because they put him on IR today, but he sprained his MCL. And when I tell you that that injury and watching him get carted off the field and towel over his head, crying his eyes out, I was like, this guy's done for the year. We're not seeing him for at least 12 months. We might see him like for the playoffs next year. I don't know. And it was only a sprained MCL. I don't even know how that happened, but thank you, Jesus, that he's not out with an ACL tear for like 12 months. It would have been so sad. But then Jared Wilson has a high ankle sprain. So he hasn't been put on IR yet. He's just week to week with a high ankle sprain. And I just don't know how that happened. Because I thought for sure these guys were done for the year. Like Jared Wilson was in a walking boot on Sunday with a cane. And he's not on IR. And we're going to get our starting left side of our offense back for our playoff run. So we're still Super Bowl bound, baby. But don't love the fact that our two left side of the line are gone. And Viridian Lowe is in at left tackle right now, which he did not do well for the past couple years that he played for the Patriots. He was a starting offensive tackle on the left side for 2 years and not great. But we found out like he was struggling with an injury and just poor coaching. Poor coaching. So he didn't do too bad on Sunday, but that was like near the end of the game. So we'll see. But Sunday's game, so frustrating. Drake May was like 22 of 35 or 25 of 32, something like that. He had 294 yards, so he almost reached 300 yards on Sunday. And then he threw one touchdown, and then he threw a pick six. And I don't know. He throws a pick six, and then Joe Flacco immediately returns the favor, thank you. And Marcus Jones, who I want to be a Patriot forever, returned that pick six for a touchdown. And so literally, like, even though we won by 6 points, it was without that pick six, I think Joe Flacco would have thrown one touchdown. Joe Flacco only threw for like 183 yards. And we allowed a rusher over 100 yards on Sunday again. So my first video, I made some quips about paying Milton Williams $104 million, and now I see why we pay Milton Williams $104 million, because he's out with a high ankle sprain too, and we have like nobody that can stop the run anymore. But we need to like spend some more money on offense and defense. We need to put together a good draft, but I think we might even need some help with even the offensive line, because okay, there was this series on Sunday that was so stinking frustrating. And like I understand Josh McDaniels' thought process on running the stinking ball a million times. So we get down into the red zone. Okay. We go for it 4 times. 4 times. We get down to the 1 yard line. I hate when we get to the 1 yard line because it means we're going to run. And we cannot run the ball effectively. And we get down to the 1 yard line. First and goal, run stuff. Second and goal, run stuff. Third and goal, run stuff. So then you're like, okay, this is right before the half. They're just going to take the points and go 3. I think it was it right before the half? No, it might not have been right before the half. But we go for it on 4th down, run stuff. But can Cincinnati, I was going to say Kansas City, ew, but Cincinnati commits a penalty. So we get a whole new set of downs. So we're first and goal, run it. Second and goal, run it. Run stuff, run stuff. So then they have the brilliant idea of, maybe we should try throwing it. Hunter Henry, wide open in the end zone, catches a touchdown, and it gets overturned for Mac Hollins doing a pick. And so then it's 4th. Is it 4th down, or do we replay the 3rd down? I can't remember. If I was so mad at this point, we tried to run it again. And like, I understand they have a 32nd ranked run defense in the league. But if you've already tried 7 previous times on the 1 yard line and you can't do it, and we get backed up. So they throw it to Hunter Henry. It's a beautiful shovel pass. Throw it to Hunter Henry. He gets tripped. That's what happened. Throw it to Hunter Henry, shovel pass. He gets tripped up at the 1 yard line, falls down. Like, you couldn't have just fallen into the end zone, like given a little extra effort. We can't run it in. And we get to 4th and goal, and instead of taking the points, we try to run it. And we get stuck. No, it was the tush push. We tried to tush push it. And Drake May couldn't. And I'm like, we need Tom Brady to teach Drake May the quarterback sneak, because he went like over. And I'm like, what you got to do is you got to get real low and you got to like slide in underneath the lineman. That's how Tom Brady used to do it. And Tom Brady was the best at the QB sneak. And Drake May, you need to learn a little QB sneakage from the GOAT Tom Brady, because Tom Brady I loved the Tom Brady quarterback sneak. Those were so fun. But that series of offensive play calling was so head scratching. And people were all mad because, like, I think Ramondre Stevenson tried to run it in, Terrell Jennings tried to run it in, and everyone wants Travion Henderson because he has 2 good games. And like, bro, if you look, Travion Henderson was our leading rusher on Sunday, and he averaged 3.7 yards a carry. That is not good. That is not good. Just because he like got lucky 2 games in a row does not mean that he was not great. And I think just because he scored 5 touchdowns in 2 games, people like just forget that he's only averaging like 3, like that was like 3.7, 3.5 or 3.7 in the Jets game where he had the 3 touchdowns, 3.1 yards a carry. And I don't know if that is because our offensive line is not a great run offense, or if our running isn't great. I don't know. But his yardage would not say that he's great. But he'll get like 2 or 3 runs where he breaks tackles, or he'll like bounce off a guy and like go to the outside, and he'll pick up big yardage. But his average is like 3 yards. That's not great. That's like reminiscent of 1 yard blunt. That's what I used to call a Garrett Blunt, because it was like he'd run it for a yard more often than not. And then he would have like 1 or 2 plays every month or so where he would like get through a hole. He'd like find a hole, squirt through, and then he'd go like 50 something yards. But he was 1 yard blunt for the majority of his time with the Patriots, and I loved him. He was one of my favorite running backs that we've had in recent years. He was just a fun guy to watch on the field and on the sidelines and social media. But what a frustrating game on Sunday. Even though we won, I did, the injuries just really like took the wind out of our sails, especially because it was like your two arguably best offensive linemen, and like Morgan Moses, who was our right tackle, was in and out of the game on Sunday because he was sick. And so he wasn't even allowed to be sick. He had to go in because we literally had to move like our center over to left guard, and we had to bring in like our right guard in the center, and we were just like, it was a rotation. It was offensive line by committee on Sunday. So I'm just incredibly thankful that Jared Wilson and Will Campbell did not have like season ending injuries, and it's just day by day. And we have a Monday night game against the Giants, and the Giants are sneaky good. They might not have a great record, but they go into the fourth quarter typically with the lead, and pretty handily a lead. So the fact that they have only won like 2 games is not great for them, but they do show heart, and they do. We'll see if Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback on Monday. I don't know. But then we have a bye week, which cannot come soon enough because our poor players are just breaking down. Thank you, Roger Goodell, and all your pontification about player safety. I really see it in action as you add more games to the season and have shorter weeks with Thursday night games. I love your player safety initiative. I would love for him to like hear this and just be like, dude, you suck. And I would make a better commissioner. And so I would just like to throw my hat in for when Roger Goodell retires, I guess, because the owners are too dumb to like. The owners only care about money too, so they don't care about player safety either. Hello, if your players are injured, you're not going to be making money. So you got to decide, because I don't like seeing my starting left tackle, my starting left guard on the ground and getting carted off crying. That was really sad. It was really sad. But we won, and the Chiefs, they beat the Colts, which is great for us because now Denver's like the only other team. They were on a bye last week, so they were the only other team who has only lost as many times as us. They've only lost twice, but we've won one more game than them because we have not had our bye week yet. So the Chiefs beating the Colts only worked in our favor, but I would like the Chiefs to like lose from here on out because it just gives me joy seeing Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes crying like little babies. It gives me joy. And I think that's probably how people felt about Pats fans, although I don't remember Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski crying the way that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce do. But I was a fan, so maybe I remember it differently. But I can't complain. I didn't think we'd be here. It's really exciting being the potential number 1 seed in the AFC, and I kind of want to be the number 1 seed because we need that bye week. Because we need our offensive line back and healthy. But go Pats. We'll see what happens Monday night. I am not as hopeful going into this game as I would have been if we didn't have so many. Oh, and Tonga. Tonga went out with a chest injury, and I haven't seen anything about him. So I don't even know how bad it is. But without Tonga on the offensive line on Sunday too, like we can't put these small guys up front and then continue with a rushing defense that was fan freaking tastic through the first however many games it was until the Jets game when Milton Williams went down with that high ankle sprain. But he will come back at some point too from IR. So I just want to get healthy in time for the playoffs because we're winning the Super Bowl this year. Book it.